you know, for people who can't make it live. So today we're talking about meal planning and prepping and all of that stuff. And I have slides prepared, but I wanted to just kind of just have like a few minutes, because, you know, there aren't a lot of us on the call, so we can do this kind of thing, to ask, you know, if you are meal prepping and or planning, and if you have like a challenge that you're really looking to deal with at the current moment. So since Joanne, since I can see your lovely face, do you want to start? I mean, you don't, there's no requirement to talk, but I'm just saying if you would like to.
I'm prepping veggie snacks for the car, and that's working out good. There's always the water. What's still kind of hard is to plan or prep a meal when I'm in transit. So that I have to try and figure out something that I can eat that's gluten-free, that might be nutritious, or I just eat my, or I just eat, or I just eat my veggies and wait till I get home to do the meal.
Hold on, I'm trying to, somebody's not muted, and I'm, for some reason, unable to mute. Sorry about that, Choy.
Okay.
So it's when you are traveling.
Yes.
Like, okay.
What do you guys do in that instance?
Feel free to jump in if you have an idea. You know, I mean, I just asked the question, are you meal prepping? And if you are, what is a challenge for you, or, you know, in planning and all of that?
Jill, what do you and Danielle do in those instances?
Or was that mute?
Okay.
So I try to typically bring fruit that's on the go that kind of has like its own self-contained little wrapper. So items such as like an orange or, well, not an apple, but I put that in a bag, something like a banana. So it's easy for me to just take it and go, and it's a whole foods item. And I know that it'll be delicious also. So that's typically what I do, but I know that you were talking about like celery or something of that nature. Is that right?
Yeah, celery, carrot sticks, or I have prepackaged omega-3 mix that has a little bit of dried cranberries in it and nuts and seeds. And that really, even though it's not a lot, it's nutritious and it's filling, and I'm okay. So I can deal with that.
Yeah, that's great. I love that idea.
Yeah, having like your own like trail mix, your own like healthy one that doesn't, that kind of omits all the M&Ms or whatever's in the ones that you pre-buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does anybody else have any challenges or any, you know, if you are planning or meal prepping, any, you know, what you're doing, or any comments? I know everybody's muted right now, so.
Well, I sometimes find it difficult to come up with enough variations because now I'm gluten sensitive and I'm a vegetarian, but you know, it's, I don't know, it just, and I also try and avoid dairy. So just the ingredients that I can use seem to be, well, kind of limited versus before I had all these sensitivities. It was easier to have more variety, obviously. So
Right.
I guess I'm still trying to adapt to a gluten-free, dairy-free, vegetarian, interesting.
Okay. Yeah, those are a lot of restrictions, so it does make it harder for sure. But there's, you know, there's ways around that. Anybody else want to comment on a challenge?
Usually if I prep and do a meal, I don't, because I have the gluten issues and a lot of sensitivities, when I make a meal, it's going to be a smaller amount, but if there's any leftover, then that's what I would eat for lunch or for the next dinner. And if it's something that I can take with me in the car, then all the better. But right now it seems that mostly, as long as I have my water, my crunchy vegetables to pack, and that omega-3 seed and cranberry mix, that seems to be the go-to. I'm sure that I could probably make a hard-boiled egg, and put it in a pack with a little freezer block so that it stays cool. And I'm thinking that's another way to go to get a little bit of protein and not having to worry about, greasy fat food or something like that on the go. Not to be tempted to do that.
Oh, that's all perfect, excellent stuff. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, and I think also with the gluten thing, hold on, someone's messaging me. So there's one person on the call who can't hear us and is asking for a call-in number. So, sorry, I'm just gonna grab that and try to speak at the same time. What I was going to say is that when just switching, when you have all those restrictions, sometimes, you're so used to eating the same things, it becomes challenging because it's like, those are just your habits. So it's almost like you have to get like a new mindset around the whole thing, and that takes time. It's like if you're used to eating, whatever, a sandwich, then life changes, so dramatically. So it does take time to kind of figure that out. Hold on, let me just dial in. Hopefully this works for her. Okay. Oh, well, she left the meeting. Okay, so any other comments or questions? I mean, we're gonna talk all about this stuff, so, and as I'm going through the slides, just you can put questions in the chat. I just won't see them until I go out of the slides. So if you want to put questions in there for later so you don't forget, you can do that, or you could just write them down and ask me. We will have time afterwards for, the Q&A type of situation. So I'm going to go into screen share right now. And also, if you could stay muted throughout this time, that will make it better for the, for the recording. Now your screen should fill up with my slides. You can minimize it a little bit if you want to. So I'm actually changing the name of my business. I've been playing around with different names, and I've actually decided on a name. I'm going to call it Your Dream Health. And so I'm excited about that. So this logo is going to change soon. This is a little bit about me. I think everybody on the call more or less knows me, but just briefly, I have a Master's of Science degree in human nutrition, and I'm a board certified nutrition specialist. That's like a national board certification. My background is in functional medicine, but for the past 2 years, I've moved away from functional medicine and into mostly just helping women with weight loss and hormonal balancing, and dealing with metabolic syndrome and that sort of thing. So we're going to go right into delicious and nutritious meal prep. We're going to talk about simple meal prep ideas, simple, simple, simple being the key word, how to enhance the flavors and the nutrition of the food, how to fit in meal prep, because I think that's the hardest part, right? It's like knowing, actually getting it into your schedule, and also how to plan for the week. So we're going to start off with simple meal prep ideas. There's going to be a ton of information. I will send the recording and slides so that you don't have to like try to memorize all of this. So the first and most important thing is to make sure that there's protein, fat, and fiber at every meal and snack. And I'm sure those of you who have familiar with me or have heard me say this a million times, protein, fat, and fiber are very important. And so, you know, you can make, there's different ways to meal prep. You can make one big dish, for example, a stew or a curry or a soup that you basically just portion out into 5 servings, and you have your lunch for the week, right? You can get little glass containers, fill up 5 of them and put them in the fridge, and now you have every single lunch for the week, and it's super easy. Now you're eating the same thing every day, which you may not like, but for people who work outside of the house, this is fantastic because in the morning, you just grab your lunch and you go. So that's one approach, is to make like a big dish. It could be a curry, a stew, it could be a stir fry, it could be a frittata. But the point is, it's just one, everything's mixed together in one conglomeration. And then, you know, you may have heard of the concept of meal prep meals. So that's where you cook a bunch of turkey, let's say, or chicken or beef. And then, or if you're vegetarian, you cook a bunch of, you know, some kind of bean burgers or something like that, or a frittata. But then you also cook like separate things, like you have like your protein, your vegetables, and maybe a grain or a starch of some sort. So in a way that's different. There is such a thing as like one pan meals, which are like literally you put like, let's say, some shrimp and asparagus on a pan and you put it in the oven and you cook it together. Those are super quick and easy to meal prep ahead of time, or even on the day that you're going to eat it. You could also make like a salad, like a chicken salad, a sardine salad, salmon salad, you know, egg salad, and just make it and again, portion it out for 3 days or so. You probably don't want to let that sit for more than 3 days, but in the fridge, but you can, you know, meal prep that. And then the frittata is amazing because, you know, you put, especially if you're vegetarian, right? It's like an immediate source of protein and good fats right there. And you can add, you know, a little potato, you can add some, if you do eat meat, you can add some meat to it, and you can add a bunch of veggies. Boom, you have a meal, a complete meal, and it's ready, and it's so easy to deal with. Like, you don't even need to heat it up. Well, some people may find it unappealing, but for me, I would just eat a frittata like room temperature. So I love frittatas for meal prepping. So that's more like lunchy kind of stuff. Of course, you could do any of that for dinner as well. And then for dinner, I kind of like the idea of having like a set day as like a theme. So for example, Monday could be stew day, and then Tuesday could be leftover day, and Wednesday could be stir fry, Thursday tacos, Friday meatballs or burgers. And this can be vegetarian, like you can make falafels or bean burgers or that sort of thing. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, you have a theme so that when you plan for the week, you're not sitting there going, oh my God, what do I make? I gotta plan all of these meals. At least you have a framework to work out of. It just makes it easier, because it really does become overwhelming sometimes. It's like, what in the heck am I gonna eat? Keep in mind that your freezer is your friend. You can make large pots of things and then portion them out and freeze them. It's you know, use that freezer. You can make or buy burgers, right? Whether it's a veggie burger, a falafel, a beef burger, chicken, salmon, lamb. I mean, there's a ton of different types of burgers, and you can have all of that in your freezer, which is, so the freezer is great for when you haven't planned and you're like, oh my gosh, it's 6 p.m. I have no idea what I'm making for dinner. Oh, that's right, I have those falafels in the freezer. Oh, they're so good, I'm gonna defrost them, or whatever it is. So when you make things, even if you don't know when you're going to use it, freeze a couple of portions, and that way you have it. Seafood is also great because you can buy like frozen shrimp, frozen squid, or salmon or cod, and just throw that in the freezer. And again, on those days when you haven't planned, it's there for you. And the one nice thing about fish and seafood is that it cooks up so fast. So if you came home and you're tired and you've been working all day and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna make for dinner? Oh yeah, I have that shrimp. It literally takes, you know, I'm not a huge fan of microwaving, but you know, sometimes you just have to do what you gotta do. You know, defrost it, cook it up. It'll be 2 minutes. It'll be 2 or 3 minutes to cook shrimp. It's so quick. So seafood is a good thing to have in your freezer. Another thing you can do is make sauces and dressings ahead of time. And you can store them either in your fridge or your freezer. And we'll talk more about those type of things, but like a pesto or a salad dressing or something like that, but I'll talk more about it. The other thing, like in terms of, we were talking about snacks and grabbing things on the go, this is usually the biggest problem that people have. They're like, okay, I make my breakfast, I make my lunch, but then if I need a snack, what do I do? And I love Joanne's ideas of like the vegetables or the trail mix type of, the healthy trail mix type of thing. I would say like for the fruit, like what Danielle was saying, you just want to be cautious because if you're trying to lose weight, fructose can kind of throw a wrench in the whole process. So if you're super physically active, it's great. And always make sure that you're eating the whole apple, not just like a peeled apple or, a mango is probably going to have a lot more sugars in it than maybe you would want. So, you have to look at your needs in terms of fruit. It's a great, convenient, easy snack. And I see people doing it all the time, like eating a banana. Yeah, there's a guy at my gym. He probably burns 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day because he's a trainer. He told me, he was like, I just ate 3 bananas. I was like, all right, well, you get to eat 3 bananas because you're working out a lot. So just be careful with fruit or anything that's like sugary, not necessarily, added sugars, but even like, dried fruit and that sort of thing. But you can make your own bars. Like I have a date bar that I make that's really good. You can make your own breads and that sort of thing for snacks. And we're going to talk more about snacks, believe me. For breakfast, keep it simple, simple, simple. I eat scrambled eggs every day. Super easy. Like you could just have like 2 scrambled eggs with a half a cup of berries. Boom, you got your protein, your fat, and you got your fiber. It's perfect. Leftovers always make great breakfast, although in our culture, leftover is not really seen as like a breakfast food, but why not? I mean, my husband does it all the time. Like he'll eat like a leftover burger for breakfast, There's no rules saying you can't do that. Again, the frittata and the omelets, breakfast patties. So like you can make like a turkey sausage type of thing or like a hash type of, there's these breakfast patty idea that, I don't know, just to do something a little bit different. Smoothies are amazing. If you're super busy in the morning, you can prep that smoothie the night before. You can get, a lot of the ingredients right into your blender and just put it in the fridge or your NutriBullet. You can put half or more, like if you put the drier things like berries and seeds and vegetables and that sort of thing. And then in the morning, just add the liquid, add the frozen fruit if you're going to do it and blend it up. So that's a super quick and easy breakfast. There's overnight oatmeal, which is like where you soak the oatmeal in water overnight. You can add chia seeds to that as well. And then in the morning, it cooks up much faster because it's been soaking. There's also like paleo oatmeals and that sort of thing that you can prepare ahead of time. You could make your own granola. Oh my gosh, if you make your own granola, that'll last you weeks and weeks and weeks. You can make your own breads. I have a paleo banana bread that I love. That could be a breakfast food. It could be a snack. So we're going to talk about enhancing flavors because like we don't just want to be practical. We want things to taste good too, right? So you definitely want to use whole foods and avoid processed foods as much as possible. And the reason for this is that processed foods don't taste, they don't have the same depth of flavor and deliciousness as whole foods. And we could talk about that more if you want, but it's just, you have so many different more aromas with whole foods. Use your spices and herbs in batch cooking. So if on the weekend you're preparing a bunch of food, make it taste good. Take a little extra time and make sure that you have like a really good recipe that you enjoy and use the spices and herbs. Not only are they going to make it taste better, they're going to add nutrition as well. One other thing you can do that, like if you're not a huge vegetable fan, you can, like for example, colored greens, which are amazing nutritionally. it's kind of a, it's a tough sell for some people. Kale as well. It's like, oh, those dark leafy greens are sometimes hard, but you can almost like shred them. If you have a super sharp knife, you can just finely, almost dicing or shredding it. And that will make it easier to go down. You can add it to more things. Like today, the other day I made this casserole and I added kale to it, and I just so finely chopped up that kale that it almost looks like it's like oregano in the dish. So people don't even know it's there. And by people, I mean usually kids. But even adults sometimes get a little squeamish about big, portions of greens and that sort of thing. Also, you can make herbed butters and sauces and dressings. For example, pesto. Those of you who know me in any shape or form probably know that I'm obsessed with pesto. I make it every single week. I use pesto a lot. I love it. It's delicious. It makes whatever you're eating taste better with pesto on it. Or you could make like a chimichurri, which is a similar thing to pesto. It's just, slightly different spices and that sort of thing. You could do like a lemon herbed sauce. You could make aioli sauce. And this is something that you make maybe once every other week or every week, depending on how much you use it. And it just sits in your fridge. It's emulsified in fat, so it stays really well. It doesn't go bad. When I make aioli, I take avocado oil mayo. I add lime and garlic and cilantro. And salt. That's it. And it's so easy, but then I can use it on everything. I can make a salad dressing from it. I can put it on a falafel or a burger or anything I want. So, or even if I made potatoes, put some aioli on it. Combining fat and potatoes is not the best option if you're trying to lose weight, but a little bit, just to make it taste good. So those sauces our dressings and that sort of thing are amazing to make ahead of time. You could make garlic or herbed butter. So just take your butter, melt it in the pan, add some fresh chopped diced garlic, like finely minced garlic is really the right word. Add some herbs, a little sea salt, then let it solidify. Now you have the most delicious butter in the world, and you can use it in cooking, you can use it on things. And I always make salad dressing as well. So in the winter, I don't eat as much salad, but during the, warmer months, I never buy store-bought dressing. And I recommend, you really don't need to buy store-bought dressing. I mean, you could literally just take a jar, put some olive oil in it, mince up some garlic, add some salt. If you want, a little vinegar or mustard, shake it up. Now you have a handy dandy, healthy salad dressing that you can use every day. When you buy salad dressing in the store, it's got sugars usually, it's got, a lot of times they add flour or, I don't know, I've seen gluten in salad dressing, I don't know why. They add bad oils like canola oil and that sort of thing. So you can make a high quality dressing that is absolutely delicious in really not much time at all. Potatoes, squash, dried fruit, fresh fruit, that sort of thing can add flavor. So this is one thing I learned from a chef who I refer to some of my clients who need they want the meals delivered to their house. She said that, she'll just throw in one potato in a dish, just one. So if you're worried about carbs, it's not going to add a lot of carbs, but it's going to add just enough of flavor enhancement that you're like, oh, this is good. So if you're making a soup, you can throw in 1 or 2 potatoes for the entire soup, or squash. Or like if you're making salads, dried fruit and fresh fruit are, just add flavor. I make a dish sometimes where I finely dice up either kale or collard greens, and then I add in unsweetened dried cranberries. It's delicious. Everybody loves it. It just adds a little bit of sweetness to a dish that maybe would otherwise be a little bit, boring. You can add olives, pickles, fermented food, like fermented pickles, basically, right? Sauerkraut, that sort of thing. Artichoke hearts, sun-dried tomatoes, roasted red peppers, etc. I forgot the C there. But, there's a lot that you can do. And all of these are going to not only add flavor to your food, they're going to add nutrition as well. So, you know, it's okay, especially if you're meal prepping on the weekend, get creative, have fun with it. Okay, so to enhance the nutrition, uses whole foods as much as possible. Processed foods just are not as nutritious. Always make sure you have protein, fat, and fiber. Use these sauces and dressings that I mentioned. You're adding garlic, especially now people want to boost their immune function. You're adding herbs. You're adding good quality oils, better nutrition. Prep your meat, prep veggies. If you're really busy, you can cut up vegetables, you know, 2 or 3 days in advance. Just seal them like super sealed tight container. And that way you're kind of more like just grabbing those veggies. Cause I think a lot of times when we're busy, the veggies usually fall down as like the thing that doesn't get done. So if you can prep them a little bit ahead of time, I mean, there are people, even if you don't cut them, you could wash them and section them into, you know, just prep them even a little bit. It'll make it more likely that you're actually going to eat those vegetables during the week. Okay. Snacks, cut up veggies. We've talked about that. Berries, out of all the fruits, I mean, berries do not travel well, right? So like an apple is great for traveling, but berries are less so. So a berry would be something maybe you would have, you know, in your home if you're rushing home to grab something and leave again. Nuts and nut seed butters and nuts and seeds. So the trail mix, or even just like I always have walnuts hanging around my house, because a walnut to me is like such a great snack, because I only need to eat 5 of them and then I'm good, because there's so much fat, and mostly fat in walnuts. Again, the olives, the pickles, fermented pickles, artichoke hearts, these could make quick little snacks. Again, not for traveling, but for, you know, in your house. Dried fruit, definitely you can travel with, right? But just try to get the unsweetened stuff. Falafels and bean burgers are great. They really do travel if you have a container. Turkey jerky or any kind of that sort of like aged meat. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but you know, pemmican and jerkies, and like these days they sell like organic Slim Jim, you know, the Slim Jim thing. You don't want to get the conventional stuff because it's packed with like preservatives and coloring and all of that stuff. But these days, if you go to a health food store, you can get these jerkies and things in a healthier version, and those do travel well for sure. So those are some snack things. Smoothies are amazing. You can add anything to a smoothie, really. I mean, think of a smoothie as a vehicle for delivering nutrition. That's what a smoothie is. I mean, you can add seeds, you can add dates, cacao, which is like dark chocolate, which has a lot of antioxidants. Spirulina, chaga, matcha, those are all powders. You could add a fiber powder. Definitely add vegetables to your smoothies. I mean, there's just so much you can do in a smoothie. So that's another way to enhance your nutrition right away. Soups, you can add a ton of vegetables, puree it up. Like you could literally add like 8 different vegetables to a soup. Once you puree it up, you don't know what's in there. You don't care. It tastes good. It doesn't taste good no matter what you add. You can add beans to soups, especially for Danielle's mom. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name right now, but you're just mom today. For mom, add beans. Make soup and add beans so that you're getting that protein. Stir fries are amazing. Like they're so easy and you can pretty much add anything to them. Saute the veggies, roast the veggies, always add onions and garlic, add hemp seeds and nutritional yeast on top. Again, for someone who's a vegetarian, you could be throwing on hemp seeds on everything because they add protein and they add fiber and they add essential fatty acids. So they're great for everybody. Make sure that you're using good quality oils and fats. Okay, so like the last thing you want to do is be eating a super healthy diet and then eating canola oil or fake butter, or, you know, on the weekend going and eating French fries, you know, like just because you've been eating well all week. Like nothing against French fries, you know, I mean, once in a while they're fine, but, you know, really try to focus on the oils and fats in your diet, because that is usually should be about 1/3 of your diet, of what you eat, of your calories. They better be good quality. I have a blog post about oils and fats too. So if anybody's curious about that, you can ask me and I'll send you the link. So how do you fit in meal prep into your life? It's easy to imagine doing all this beautiful meal prepping. And, you know, it was funny, a client of mine, she was like, I'm going to meal prep this weekend. And I said to her, I said, look, good, great. But if you don't get to it, don't beat yourself up about it, okay? Because there's always another weekend. And it just so happened that weekend she had like a family emergency. She wasn't able to meal prep anything. And she was like, I was so glad you told me that, you know, sometimes life happens and you can't do it every weekend. You know, and the reality of doing it is hard. But what you really need to be prioritizing more than meal prepping is planning. Planning is the essence of any endeavor to improved health and improved eating. Planning is at the core of everything. Make sure, and we're going to talk a little bit more about planning. Make sure you repeat what works. If something worked for you, it was easy, you liked it, do it again. Don't go try, oops, I progressed too fast. Don't go trying to find new things if what you're doing is working. And remember to keep it simple, 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 simple. You do not have to be a culinary chef here. Just do what works, do what's basic and simple, that's not overwhelming for you. Do the thing that you know you're gonna keep doing, that you're not like one weekend, you know, you tear apart the kitchen for 8 hours and it's like, yes, I prepped all this food, but I'm never doing that again. Keep it simple. So planning for the week. This is my suggestion. Plan for the planning. Okay, so that's step number one, is when are you going to plan? Not when am I going to meal prep or when am I going to shop? When am I going to plan? So that's step number one. And this is where the habit is. The habit is not the meal prepping first. The habit is the planning. So, okay, every Sunday morning, I'm going to do a little meal planning. It does not have to take you an hour, especially as you do it more and more. It'll be quick. It takes you maybe 5 or 10 minutes max. So this is not a time suck. This is a time saver. You got to think of it that way. It's going to take me 5 or 10 minutes to then make me more efficient and productive during the week. You probably will have to do it twice a week. You know, definitely once, maybe twice. And when you make your plan, think about, this is the plan. Okay, this is what I'm cooking. So Monday is stew day. When am I going to make it? When am I actually going to make that food? When am I going to buy the ingredients for that food? Like, really think it through. And don't forget to, I know this is coming up somewhere, but I'm thinking of it now. Don't forget to plan for every meal, right? Like breakfast, lunch, and dinner snacks. Not just, oh, my dinners are all perfectly planned for this week, but I have no idea what I'm eating for lunch. Plan for the planning and plan for all the different meals. And then, think about when you're going to do it. And plan for every meal. I already said that. And don't forget, do you need snacks? As I said before, so I'm not a huge fan of snacking unless you absolutely need it. A snack should not be built into your meal plan unless you have a specific medical condition that requires it. We as human beings, we are entirely capable of going weeks without eating. So do you really think we need to eat every 2 hours? No, we don't. As a matter of fact, it's counterproductive to most people's health goals. If you're working out a ton and you're super lean, maybe. But otherwise, no, you probably don't need it. Now, that's not to say that you can go from snacking all the time to no snacks, because it takes a process of transitioning into that. However, that being said, I have snacks that I have in my house. You know why? Life happens. Sometimes I don't have time to eat when I thought I did. Stuff happens. So it's good to have a plan for snacks if you need them, but you don't want to build it in and say, oh, I'm going to snack every single day. So think about when you're looking at your week, when you're planning Sunday morning, your planning session, look at your calendar for the week. I always do this. I don't just wing it. Well, my schedule is very changeable, but I'm looking like, oh yeah, Wednesday, I have that thing in the evening. So I'm going to be super busy that day. So that's the day when I'm going to have leftovers. Like, strategically think about this, okay? Sometimes you're going to meal prep on the weekends. Sometimes you're going to cook during the week, obviously. So take all of that into consideration. As I said before, always have stuff in the freezer for times that you didn't plan, but always have a plan. Sorry, I think it's just really important to have a plan, obviously. So I'm going to just breeze through my plan for this week so we have time for Q&A. This was already passed. So Saturday, I made some date bars and I made a bone broth. I fasted through. Fasting, skipping meals is great because you don't have to meal prep for them at all. So I skipped breakfast, and for lunch, I had a smoothie with 2 scrambled eggs. And then I had leftover food for dinner on Sunday because I knew I was going to be cooking. So I was like, I didn't want to like meal prep for the week and make my dinner on Sunday. That would be too much. So I made my pesto and banana bread together. That's super quick and easy. I do them a lot, so it's like kind of a no-brainer for me. But then I also went into this casserole and veggie soup combo, which I kind of did a lot of the prep happen together. So I cut up 2 onions at the same time, one for the casserole, one for the soup. So I cut up the vegetables kind of together for everything. And then it was just easy because the casserole, you just throw everything in and bake it. And the soup, you just throw everything in and cook it. So, so this was a good, I mean, I hadn't made a casserole in a while. It was a good little, I don't know how to say it. It worked really easily. It didn't take me that long. So Monday, I'm just telling you what I eat pretty much. So when I work out, I have 1 scrambled egg before I work out, and then I come home and I have my brunch, which is usually at like 10, 11, or 12 or 1 o'clock. I often will have a salmon burger, which are frozen. I order 24 of them at a time. Wild caught salmon, delicious, basic ingredients. Pull it out, 3 minutes on each side, put some pesto that I made on the weekend, and then my smoothie, which takes time, but it's a pretty quick lunch. Then I have my vegetable soup. So if I get hungry around 4 o'clock, which I often do, then I'll have my veggie soup. Now, remember, I said I don't recommend building snacks into your schedule. I have it built into my schedule because I often eat either only an egg for breakfast, or I eat, or I skip breakfast. So in a way, these are kind of like my 3 meals, like the brunch, the veggie soup, and then the dinner. But I also work out a lot. So you don't necessarily need to follow this. I'm just showing you what I do and also like what I'm eating. Broccoli and chicken casserole, delicious. If I want a snack, I have those date bars that I have. Not a snack, a dessert. Tuesday I fasted. Then I had my lunch, which was a smoothie with 2 scrambled eggs, had the veggie soup, leftovers Tuesday night. Boom, super easy. Wednesday, same thing as Monday, pretty much. Exactly the same thing as Monday, except different dinner. So I buy fresh seafood. So I got that today, sole, and I bought some things for tomorrow on Friday. So that's my like midweek second shopping excursion. So tonight we're gonna have sole with pesto, super easy to make. Super easy. I already have the pesto, remember? All I have to do is lay out the sole, put a dollop of pesto on it, close it up, and bake it. It's delicious. And it takes me like less than 10 minutes to do that whole thing, right? Not including the baking. Then we have bok choy and red rice. If you haven't had red rice, it's really good. And bok choy and also I bought asparagus. Those are 2 vegetables that everybody loves. Right? Everybody loves bok choy and asparagus, like in terms of like kids and stuff, you know, family members. Super easy and quick to cook. You don't have to do much to them. And then I'm making a red rice, which is also easy. Thursday, I'm having leftovers for lunch, veggie soup, and then is tacos. Easy. Everything's easy that I make. I don't know if you noticed this. Friday, leftover taco meat with my smoothie. I will use the banana bread because the veggie soup probably going to be gone. And then I got shrimp, fresh shrimp. So I'm going to make that with asparagus and red rice. That's it. This is not rocket science. Keep it simple. Okay, so we're going to go into Q&A. I just want to tell you, so our next webinar is going to be Thursday, April 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, how to eat out, tips and tricks. And Danielle is going to be doing the webinar, so that's super exciting and fun. And also to let you know about my course, Food Boss, which some of you have heard about before. It's an 8-week self-guided course. It's for health optimization, weight loss, or you just want to, improve your body composition. For those of you who actually stuck it out to the end, whether live or on the recording, I'm giving a $100 discount. It ends on Sunday, March 22nd. And you use this coupon code WEB100 to get the discount. And there's 2 levels to Food Boss. There's just the regular plain self-guided course, which is 8 weeks. And then there's Food Boss Premium, where you get extra support through some coaching and email support and like weekly check-ins and that sort of thing. So there's that for you. For those of you who, what we did today is just sort of like a tiny percentage of what we do in Food Boss, like in terms of the content. Like I go really, really deeply into the delicious and the nutritious and snacking and cravings and all kinds of things. So if you want to know about that, I'll put in the link in the email, but also just, you could always ask me. Okay, we're gonna go out of screen share. And I hope that was good information for you all. Sorry we lost Kathleen because she couldn't hear us. So if you have questions or comments, now is the time. You have me. I'm yours. So please ask questions or make comments about anything that you would like at this point.
Well, I have a question. My name's Marlene, by the way. Marlene.
Marlene. Okay, yes, Marlene.
With your scrambled eggs with berries, like at breakfast, and you said that's complete fat, fiber, and protein. Do you add anything to the eggs, any oil when you cook them, or is the fat is it part of the egg?
It's mostly from the egg, but I do, when I cook scrambled eggs with butter, because I think that anything else is sort of a crime in terms of taste. I like butter, but you could use other, some people use coconut oil, some people use olive oil, which probably wouldn't taste very good, but I do cook. I don't think there's a way to scramble eggs without a little fat in the pan.
Okay.
But yeah, most of the fat I'm talking about is from the, I think one egg has 5 grams of fat, I want to say off the top of my head, and it's got about 6 grams of protein. So depending on the size of the egg, if you have 2 eggs, you got 12 grams of protein right there, about 10 grams of fat, but there's no fiber. There's no carbohydrate in it. So if you want to add vegetables to the eggs, like make an omelet, or you want to have some fruit or veggies on the side, to make it more complete in a way. And the truth is, the amount of protein, fiber, and fat that any given person needs at any given meal, it really varies. So you kind of have to experiment a little bit and see what works for you.
Okay. Now, you've shared a lot of great ideas, and actually just one idea that you said with making 2 dishes at the same time so that you're cutting up vegetables. You're making a casserole and a soup, and it's a great idea. I've never thought to do it. And as Danielle knows, I am the slowest cooker in the world, so this might give me a little bit of efficiency. So thank you for that idea.
You're welcome. Yeah, I am very fast. I will use that as a disclaimer for sure. Like I am like, get it done kind of person. So if you're slow, it will take you longer, unfortunately.
Right. But if I could get 2 done at the same time, well.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Yeah. Danielle, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that a dish that would typically take me about like 15 minutes meal prep takes her about like 45 to an hour. But it's okay.
Well, there's something to be said for moving through the world a little bit more slowly. I mean, like, first of all, the world, it takes all kinds. And second of all, that means you're probably more relaxed, like it's actually healthier to probably be a little bit more slow and
So there,
but
Danielle.
yeah, but it does, yeah, the time situation can be a challenge.
So I had a question for you, Jill, that kind of applies to everyone. It's about portion sizing. So with all the meal planning, like a theme is to like make the soup and then break it up into 5, like different servings for like Monday through Friday. And I guess this is maybe individual, but oftentimes I feel like if I'm meal prepping, sometimes I'll break everything up and I'll have it, but then I'll finish the meal and I'm still hungry. I think I didn't make enough for that meal plan. And then that's when I start looking into my pantry of like, okay, how can I supplement this meal plan? And so yeah, a question regarding that of different portion sizes.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, one thing that I forgot to say, well, actually there are 2 things I forgot to say. One is, the cool thing about this is that every week you get a new chance to do it differently and better.
Mm-hmm.
So, you may have to experiment and see. And if you made that dish and you liked it, but if you were still hungry, then next time you got to add probably more protein, fiber, or fat.
Yeah.
One or more of those, I mean, the stews are great because you can put in beans, you can put in meat, you can put in vegetables. If you're vegetarian, you wouldn't have meat, but you'd have more beans. So yeah, you just kind of have to experiment with it and see what the right portion size is for you. Or maybe, like for me, I know like a smoothie is not enough food. I need to have that with something. And sometimes, like, one of the reasons why I make that veggie soup, like pretty much every week, is because it always can augment a meal. I don't always use it as a snack. Sometimes I'm too busy to make a vegetable. So I'm like, oh, I may have made something ahead of time, or I'm eating leftovers and then I just add that thing in. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of having either like a soup or a salad, what I call fridge salads, that are just always living in your fridge. That sounded a little gross to say living in your fridge, but you know what I mean? Like that you always have something in the fridge that you can just grab that's super nutritious to augment a meal or have as a snack. The other thing I do, but more of a summer thing, is I love to have bean salads in the fridge. Because a bean salad will sit in your fridge for 4 or 5 days and it won't go, it's not going to go bad. And you can add it. It can be added to any kind of meal, especially salads.
What's in the bean salad?
Well, I have 2 styles. One is just a chickpea salad, very basic. It's got chickpeas with olive oil, mashed, minced garlic, parsley, and I squeeze some lemon on top. And I add Parmesan cheese as well. But if you don't do dairy, you can skip that. It's still really good even without it. And I add it to everything. It's just like a condiment to everything. Or I also make, like my mom has this great bean salad recipe, which is like 3 or 4 different kinds of beans with string beans and peppers and onions, kind of that style of bean salad. Cucumbers you could add. So yeah, those are things. And the fridge salads are usually, using vegetables that are hearty. So like a kale Caesar salad or a coleslaw.
Yeah.
Make that on a Sunday. You could package it, or you could just leave it in a big bowl like I do, because I don't want to say I'm lazy, I'm more busy. And so I just have it in a big bowl and then I pull it out and it's like instant salad. So these are things that probably best done on the weekends, or if you have time during the week. The other thing I forgot to say is I work from home. So if you work out of the house, or like Joanne was saying, you have a lot of out and about time, it's a little bit different. You definitely have to be more diligent with the planning and have those ready to go kind of things. So like I have one client, she's a teacher, so she leaves really early. She comes back at like 3, but then she has to rush out again to drive her kids places. So when she gets home at 3 or 3:30, she's starving. So, you know, she really has to plan, or else what is she going to do? She's going to grab junk food. So I wanted to mention that one point. Are there any other questions or comments or anything that you do that you would love to share with everybody else?
Well, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about that cold frittata that you enjoy. What do you put in it?
Well, so if I make a frittata, I like to put potatoes and, well, you wouldn't put meat, but you know, you could put like bits of bacon or sausage in there. And then, you know, broccoli is great. Like I cook the vegetables first, unless they're very soft. Like if you were to put spinach in it, you probably wouldn't have to cook it first. But let's say I cooked some potatoes and I cooked some broccoli, and they're not like fully soft and cooked, they're like partially cooked. And then I just take a big bowl and I throw a bunch of eggs in, I throw the vegetables, everything in there, and I just put it in. I actually cook it in my cast iron pan, and I just put it in the oven and bake it. And that's a frittata. But you could put red peppers, you could put mushrooms and onions, you could put mushrooms, onions, and spinach. I mean, I think that you could do asparagus with goat cheese. Oh, yeah. You know, there's so many that you could do sun-dried tomatoes with goat cheese. But I would say, you know, as much as you can, try to throw in extra veggies.
Okay.
Because, you know, just to bring up the nutritional, someone just walked to my door, so the dog is now coming to action. As much as humanly possible, try to add more vegetables to things rather than less. So like the casserole that I made, I put broccoli, leeks, kale, and string beans and onions and garlic. Did I need to put all those vegetables? No, your traditional broccoli casserole is just broccoli or maybe onions, right? But I made that extra effort to get more vegetables in, that way it's just more nutrition. So try to sneak in as many vegetables as you possibly can.
That sounds good. One thing that you said, you gave me another question. You mentioned goat cheese, or like if you have fat that's made from sheep milk. Is that like, if, you know, I'm concerned about being sensitive to dairy, but if you have cheese made from goat's milk or sheep's milk, is that maybe better for people who are dairy sensitive, you know, to cow products?
That's a very interesting question. I think that it really does depend on the person. However, in my experience, I would say that there have been enough people who did not tolerate cow dairy, and they did tolerate goat and sheep. So it's really an individual thing. But I think that it's worth exploring for sure, especially if you're vegetarian, because you can add, you know, that goat or sheep milk cheese is just a little bit of extra protein in there, and good fat.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's worth exploring for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Also, I would say, like, if you're gonna do cheese, anybody who's eating like cow dairy, try to get, you know, stuff from Europe, because they do have, you know, the proteins in the milk are just a different makeup. You know, some people tolerate that sort of cow dairy, but they don't tolerate the, you know, your typical American cow dairy. I don't want to, it's a long story. But I'm just saying, you know, if for those of you who are like, well, I like dairy, but, you know, I want to experiment with something else, you could try the European stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but in general, I do recommend dairy as more of like a condiment, you know, like it's added in small amounts. Even if you do tolerate it, it shouldn't be like, I'm gonna have a big plate of cheese now, you know, like, you know, it's probably not ideal to sit there and chow down on like huge portions of cheese. for everybody.
No quesadillas.
Yeah, well, once in a while maybe, but if you have issues with dairy, no, a quesadilla would not be your friend.
No.
Or pizza.
No.
Or fried cheese.
What is in those date bars that you talk about?
Oh, they're so good. You know what? I'm gonna add the recipe to the email.
Okay.
But it's dates, walnuts, shredded coconut, cacao, like 100% pure cacao.
Mm-hmm.
I put vanilla and almond extract in there,
Mm-hmm.
a dash of sea salt, and I personally put in like about a tablespoon of maple syrup, pure maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm making like a big batch. If you are worried about carbs or, pre-diabetic or losing weight or anything like that, you probably want to leave the maple syrup out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, it's quite delicious even without the maple syrup. It's just a little bit sweeter.
So how long?
And then, just put it in the food processor.
Yeah. How long does it last usually?
I keep it in the freezer.
Oh, and you just eat them straight like that? Sounds
Yeah,
good.
like it's like, I roll it out with a rolling pin. Like I put a
Okay.
wax paper kind of thing over it and I roll it out. And then I put it on a flat surface in the freezer and I let it freeze up for, an hour or something. Then I take it out and I cut it into bars. And then I let it really freeze, and then I take it out and I break them into individual bars and put it in a glass container and I leave it in the freezer. However, the issue is more that it gets eaten. Like I usually make those date bars almost every weekend because they get eaten. And sometimes I phase out of them just because I've been eating them. You get tired of something, but there are like a million different variations on bars with like dried fruit.
Mm-hmm.
A million. And I also I love the Paleo banana bread too. It's so great. And I make like a big loaf. I probably cut it into about 15 slices. And then I take like maybe 4 or 5, put them in the fridge, and then I freeze up the rest of them. So that lasts me for, I don't know, a month or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot that can be done, but don't get overwhelmed. Just do what you need to do, no more, no less.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to an event, which is kind of a potluck, and I'm supposed to bring a snack. Now I know what I'm bringing, date bars.
Oh, what are you bringing?
The date bars that you just described.
Yeah. They're really good. They're really good. Yeah, and you can play around with them. There's so many different variations, but yeah, they're pretty healthy. I mean, like the average person may be like, but if you're going to a group of people who are like health conscious, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thanks.
You're welcome. But you do bring up maybe we should do a whole webinar on like what to bring to parties and what to serve at parties.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Because sometimes I struggle with that myself.
Yeah. And like what to do if you're attending a social event. Yeah.
Yes. All right, we're going to put that on the list. Okay, and anybody, if you are now or you're listening to the recording, if you have an idea of something you want to talk about in a webinar, just email me, please. We're always want to do what people want to hear about. All righty.
All right.
Okay, well, everybody have a good week, and hopefully I'll see you all soon. Next webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.